Showcasing local talent, professionals, and everyday people making Salt Lake City what it is today. It's time for another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the I Am Salt Lake podcast. This is episode 78. My name is Chris Hollifield. I am the host. Welcome to my show, everybody. IamSaltLake.com is the website. Head on over to the website. You can listen to all the previous episodes. Got all the links to get in touch with me on Facebook, Twitter, voicemail. It's all right there online. Hey, this episode, great episode. I got an opportunity to sit down with Moses McKinley from McKinley Sound, a brand new shop opened up here a couple months ago in downtown Salt Lake City, 366 South, 500 East, Suite 103. You might also be familiar with Moses. He plays the mandolin in a Folk Hogan, a local band here from Salt Lake City. Took my gear down to his shop and we sat down and I got to chat with him about his shop, kind of how that started, his love of music, as well as playing in Folk Hogan, like I mentioned. Really, really great conversation. Really, really happy to bring that out to you guys, for you guys to get a chance to listen to that. I'm going to jump into that episode here in just 1 second, but I want to tell you about the voicemail line, 385-202-5926. That voicemail line is always open. I would love for you guys to use it for any promotion. If you have any upcoming events here in Salt Lake that you want to promote, I would play that on a future episode. And or if you just want to say hello, love to hear from you that way as well. So anyways, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Mediocre Radio Network. Leave us a review on iTunes. That helps out a lot. Other than that, let's jump into that conversation that I had with Moses McKinley down at McKinley Sound in downtown Salt Lake City. First of all, I want to thank you, Moses, for letting me come into your shop. We're recording at McKinley Sound.
Pleasure's all mine.
And it's located at 366 South, 500 East.
Suite 103.
Suite 103, yep. Right downtown. And I'm going to start right in the beginning. Introduce yourself and kind of describe what this place is all about, okay. Especially for, like, say you met somebody on the street. How would you describe what this place is all about?
So I do stringed instrument repair. That's guitar, bass, mandolin, banjo. I even do limited repair on things like violin, cello, stand-up bass. But aside from that, we teach lessons, mandolin lessons, guitar lessons. And on top of that, a big thing for me is I want my shop to be a network for musicians. I have this little bulletin board. I always tell bands if they bring their CDs in here, I will sell them at whatever price they want to sell them at. And just for them to have a place to sell them. I keep stickers here for other bands, for them to just network. I talk to, whenever people come in, I'm always asking them about what kind of music they're into. So that way I can be more of the actual music scene downtown.
Yeah.
And that's what's really important to me, is that a lot of the shops that are around here are amazing shops, but they're more focused on retail, and they don't really get to have the one-on-one with customers that I do. Which
you do, and yeah. you interact and get out there. Now, you mentioned mandolin and violin lessons.
Mandolin and guitar.
Oh,
yeah.
For some reason I thought you said violin. Because I was intrigued. I took violin lessons for 6 years.
There's a violin building and repair shop next door.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of times if I get violin stuff that's really in-depth repairs, I tend to send it over to them because they're just pros at it. Minor stuff I have no problem doing here.
Yeah, so violins are an interesting instrument.
Yes. Yeah.
But you teach the mandolin lessons? Or you teach guitar lessons too?
Yeah, I teach the mandolin lessons. I would teach guitar lessons, but the two people that we have teaching guitar lessons are way more qualified than I am, so I'll just leave it to them.
So how can people get in touch? Just come on down here if they want to take lessons, or how do they get in touch with you about that?
We have a Facebook page as well. We've got a website will hopefully be up within about a month.
Okay.
And other than that, I mean, people can always call down here. They can always
schedule
just come by.
And,
I mean, I'm here 6 days a week.
Yeah. What are your hours here? We didn't mention that
Monday
yet.
through Saturday, 11 to 7.
And I'm sure as every musician that is subject to change.
Yeah. Frequently I have a show at, 5 p.m. or something, and I have to leave. So
yeah. And I want to mention, you're in Folk Hogan.
Yes.
For those people listening that might not be familiar with just Moses McKinley.
So I play mandolin in Folk Hogan, and that's where like mandolin lessons come in here. I taught guitar lessons at one time, and so I have that teaching background, but after being in Folk Hogan for 3 years now, it's gotten to the point of I play mandolin 10 times as much as I play guitar, and it's easier for me to teach that now.
Well, and I want to get into your mandolin playing, but I want to find out a little bit more about the shop really quick. Before here, where were you? Were you just doing stuff out of your home, or what's the story about that?
I did stuff out of my home for a while, and before that, I worked for Guitar Technologies, which was down in Taylorsville, and I was a third-party company inside of a Guitar Center. So I got like really high traffic, really loud, stressful environment. And it was nice. It was good. That's where I went to right after I graduated Luthery school. So it was like
Luthery school.
Yeah.
What is Luthery school? So maybe I'm a little ignorant.
No,
but
the word luthier comes from the Greek instrument, the lute. So if you build lutes or you repair lutes, you were a luthier.
Okay.
And that just kind of got Americanized for any stringed instrument.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you can say that you're a luthier, but typically that's not something that is put strictly to people that do repairs. Typically, if you're doing repairs, you'll just do guitar repair. I went to a Luthery school, so I actually build instruments from scratch. I have a very in-depth understanding of how an instrument functions, as opposed to just figuring out how to, fix stuff at home in my bedroom, which I did that when I was young, but then I went and got a formal education and really learned what an instrument
and
does.
Is a school here in Salt Lake, or where? I mean,
no, there actually is a violin school here in Salt Lake.
That violin making school.
Yeah.
Not
Peter.
Yeah.
That's one of the world's foremost schools for violin making, actually. Yeah, they've been there for a long, long time, and that's why there's actually so many violin shops in the Valley, because that school is here. I went to the Roberto Venn School of Luthery down in Phoenix, Arizona.
And how long is a school?
It's 880 class hours.
Okay.
So,
but no math classes,
for me,
I bet, right?
No. Well, yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much math is actually involved, but it's a weird type of math, really, because you're actually working on something you care about.
Yeah.
So growing up, I actually had a learning disability in math and was just terrible at it. I never got past algebra. I mean,
you sound like me.
But that was the thing, is that I got to school and putting it to use, trigonometry and geometry were not a problem, because I had something tangible in my, that I could really see exactly what I was doing.
Related to an instrument.
Absolutely.
So you knew how to relate with that instrument.
And so I cared, because I was like, oh, this is for music.
I gotcha.
So there's a reverence there, and that school was excellent. So you build an acoustic and an electric while you're there, and then you move on to a repair course. And I did a limited amount of repair before I went to school there. I didn't do structural repairs like cracks or broken guitars. Mostly what I dealt with was the standard, guitar monkey stuff, doing setups, making sure an instrument plays right, minor electronic work. Now, I mean, there's nothing I don't do. I replaced the side of a Martin a couple days ago.
What's been the most challenge? I mean, have you had any really challenging instruments that? Oh yeah. Or would you care not to talk?
Yeah. That one was particularly difficult. It was a 1963 Martin 000. Okay. Really beautiful guitar, tons of sentimental value, and it had been shut in the hatchback of a car, and so about a 13-inch section of the side was just caved in. So you have to cut out a big square area, rectangular area, and make a new side for it. and bend it to the exact shape and make it all fit perfectly and then glue it in there, which is incredibly difficult because it's not as though it's easy to just have a bunch of clamps that you can set up real quick when you've got a 5-minute clamping period with the type of glue you're using. I mean, you're sweating bullets because if you don't get it clamped in time,
you could really screw up an
you
instrument.
have to take it off and start over again.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's one of the hardest ones out there. There's a lot of interesting things like braces coming out of a guitar and breaking or stuff like that can be pretty difficult to repair. If the brace was lost, if someone took it out of the guitar and then lost it, you then have to make a new brace that's supposed to be exactly like the old one, figure out where it needs to go, make sure it fits with everything. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's hard. One of the most difficult ones I think I ever had was a traveling kid came through town probably about 1.5 years ago, and he just had this beat up old Epiphone $200 guitar, and he had been throwing it off of trains so long that it had really
so he was like a train hopper. He was
just a hobo, just a little traveling
the proper
kid.
term, hobo.
And he that poor guitar was at the point of where I could grab the two sides and pull them apart.
Wow.
And separate that from the guitar and do repairs and then put them back together. I mean, it was destroyed, really.
So do you ever get like frantic phone calls from musicians on a Friday night being like, my guitar is broken, I need you to fix it, kind of like a doctor. You need a pager or something like that.
I frequently have people call and ask if, one of the hardest calls to take, and I think it's especially hard for me because it happened to me before I did structural repair, is that call that you get from someone that their baby, like their most prized guitar, fell over and broke the headstock.
Oh.
And a lot of people think that that is a repair that can't be done or that a guitar is never the same after, which is just not true. I mean, they're perfectly
so you
fine.
can repair it and get it back to almost, well, I hate to say new condition, but
functionally,
functional.
It is just as good.
And
in fact, a lot of people will argue that introducing glue into a broken headstock area actually reinforces the whole area.
Okay.
Because you have something that is stronger than the short amount of grain that's running through there. That's a hard call to get when people call and you can hear them breathing heavy and
crying.
I've had people call me crying many times, and it's like
you become an instant therapist.
And once I explain how the repair works and what has to be done, and the fact that it's not going to cost them the price of a new guitar, that feels good to ease people's minds with that. So I love
being close to Urban Lounge. I mean, have you dealt with any musicians from there, or I mean, just traveling musicians in general, probably at all the venues.
Occasionally, when they have someone coming through town, if they're having issues, or even if they just need strings, occasionally they'll pop in here.
So you sell strings here then too?
Yeah. Yep, minor stuff, minor strings and picks and whatnot. So don't do a ton of retail, just kind of the necessities.
Just kind of. So. And you might have mentioned it already, and I apologize, but how long have you been in this space then?
So we opened April 4th.
Okay, April 4th. So pretty recent. I mean, how has the public response been? Pretty good?
It has been really good. I've been doing this for a long time. And
so you built up a network already, kind of.
I do have a lot of customers that already come to me. I also do repair for a shop in Park City. And so word gets out about me up there. Someone up there has a friend down here in the valley. They'll hook them up with me and they'll come over here. Certainly being inside the Guitar Center like I was for a couple of years, that was exceptional because, I met thousands of people.
Yeah.
Because that place is just insane. Plus, being in Folk Hogan, playing as many shows as I do, I'm always giving people my card, and I usually offer a discount to other bands that we've played with. I'm always happy to help them out.
Do you ever feel like, man, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but you feel so bad to charge people just because you love music, or is it just kind of one of those things that you've discovered? Well, it's my job and.
In fact, it's a problem sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm...
you just want to help a musician out.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people that I I have to really force myself to charge people sometimes because I just
because you love it so much.
Like.
You love it so much.
And there's times when it's like, and I'm honest with people. If someone brings me a guitar and they're like, my guitar has high frets. Okay, a fret level costs $110. And then I sit down to work on it and I find that, oh no, it needed a setup or it needed various other things. And that charge is only, $50. A lot of other people would be inclined to just charge the $110 and, customers none the wiser. Yeah. But I feel there's no way I could do that. I could not sleep at night if I tried to do that. And I know repair people that do that.
Really?
And it's...
So people can come to you and trust you and know that you're going to help them out.
That's a huge thing. I mean, when someone brings me their instrument, that it's a member of their family in most cases. People cherish their instruments. And, my first two guitars are tattooed on my chest. And like, it's a big deal for me. So I understand how other people feel about it. Every one of my guitars has a personality and it's like my child. And so I'm
So you treat other people's with the same respect.
Yeah, and you have to. I mean, these guitars, for some people, it is their livelihood. For some people, it's just something that they do for fun. But that doesn't mean that instrument doesn't really have a special place in their heart. I mean, I have $5,000 guitars that I would take a bullet for, and I have guitars that I got for free that if I sold them at a yard sale, they wouldn't be worth more than $10. That I feel the same way.
But you feel they're priceless.
Yeah, because once you've written a piece of music or learned something on a specific instrument, you get used to the sound of that instrument. Can't be replaced.
So you mentioned, we both mentioned you're in Folk Hogan.
Oh yeah,
and that takes up a lot of your time. I mean, it in a good way. I mean, a great band. How long you mentioned 3 years you were part of Folk. You've been part of Folk Hogan.
Yeah, the band started for myself and Canyon, the accordion player, and David, our original guitarist. It will be 3 years ago this August. So we're coming up real close.
And I wanted to mention, I mean, on this, obviously I should have mentioned it earlier, probably, I sat down with the whole band. I mean, so kind of like having you back, but a little more intimate, with Moses. So if you want to listen, I believe it was episode 25 if I'm not mistaken. I probably should have pulled that out there. It was very early on, so if you want to listen to some drunk ramblings of the band, go back and listen to that. But,
we do that a lot.
and we might have talked about it in that episode, but have you been in any other local bands or how long have you been playing music for here in Salt Lake City?
I haven't played in many prominent local bands. Most of them are the way that most bands are. They kind of like flare up and then go away. Yeah. The most notable other band I was in was probably Devil's Country, which was like a cowpunk band. It's a stand-up bass, violin, guitar, mandolin, drums. And I played mandolin in that band as well. But it was a lot less well put together than Folk Hogan is. It was a lot of fun, but it was definitely kind of a slapdash.
So how old were you then approximately? You mentioned you had your first couple guitars tattooed on you. Yeah. When did you get your first guitar? Was that your first instrument?
I got, actually I started playing drums at 11.
At 11 years old?
And that was probably terrible for my parents. I wanted a drum set and they told me I had to learn piano first and I refused, and they bought me a keyboard and I still refused, and someone gave me a drum set and I played that for a couple of years. And then when on my 14th birthday is when I like picked up a guitar for the first time and like learned some songs. And then my 15th birthday, I got my first guitar. It's a Art and Luthery cedar top, cherry back and sides Canadian guitar. I love it to death.
And you just took to it, and did you teach yourself or take lessons? Or
well, my dad plays and my older brother play as well.
So you come from a pretty musical family then.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it wasn't hard for me to step into, but I did really teach myself most things. Because of my background in drums, and I think this is apparent with my mandolin playing as well, I have a very percussive style on guitar as well as mandolin, pretty much anything I play. And a lot of that was transferred over just because of the fact that I did have to teach myself a lot of things. My dad showed me some chords. My brother showed me some chords, and then it was kind of.
Do you guys ever play together?
Yeah, when we can.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to play with my dad because he's so good.
Oh wow! So he's even better than you are.
Oh man, if I practiced all day every day for the rest of my life, I probably wouldn't touch his.
Does he play in? Is he in Salt Lake?
Yeah, yeah. Well, he actually lives up in Midway, but he runs a radio show down in Spring City called Life Under the Horseshoe. They're on every Saturday night at KMGR.
Can you listen online or no?
Yep,
really?
It's streaming online as well. And he plays guitar is his main instrument. He plays mandolin a little bit, and he plays dobro quite a bit.
What is a dobro?
It's a slide guitar.
Okay.
It's like a resonating slide guitar. Those are
so. You looked up to him a lot then? I mean,
yeah.
Probably is that kind of even what helped drive you to become a better musician?
Absolutely.
And even kind of going back to the store here. I mean, music is such a big part of your life.
Yeah, everything at this point. I mean, when I'm not here working on my instruments or someone else's instruments, then I'm at band practice or I'm playing a show. Or even if I'm home,
you're still doing something.
I have neighbors that are musicians, and they come over and they talk to me about music. Or, I occasionally will sit down with my wife and she'll start playing something. What does your wife play? She's one of those people that can really play anything, but doesn't. And
doesn't that make you jealous? You're just
man,
come on.
I think that's why she doesn't play, is because she doesn't want to hurt my feelings. Because she'd be better than me in like a week. But she'll like occasionally pick up a guitar and strum some stuff, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's never out of my mind ever.
Yeah.
So
mandolin. When did you pick up mandolin then?
I picked up mandolin when I joined Devil's Country in 2008.
And just taught yourself how to play it.
Yeah, what happened was they called and asked me to come audition for the band, and I assumed that they meant guitar. And then when I went to hang up the phone, they were like, "Cool, we'll see you tomorrow, and bring your mandolin, and it'll be great." And so I grabbed my mandolin and I put their CD in, and I played to it and taught myself the chords of their songs. And I figured everything out on guitar first, and then figured out what those chords were on mandolin. And that was about as into mandolin as I got. And I didn't like playing mandolin at that time. When Folk Hogan started up, it was our friend David that was the original guitarist is way better than me. So it was like we didn't need two guitars. And so we needed something else. And I had a little bit of background in mandolin. So Folk Hogan really has been where I learned how to play mandolin. And I've had to teach myself everything. So.
What do you like most about it? I mean, you play out to at a lot of shows. I mean, what do you like most about playing in front of people in a live audience? Is there anything you like?
I feel like, and I feel like a lot of artists will say this, and it might even be cliche, that when you're on stage and you're playing, nothing else exists and nothing else really matters, and you are just in this wonderful moment on stage, connecting with the people that are on stage. You're connecting with the people that are in the crowd, and there's just this amazing like feeling of energy. There's just it's so much fun, and it is absolute catharsis. I mean, you are an extension of your instrument, and your instrument is an extension of you at that point, and nothing can really interrupt that.
It's awesome.
And that's what's great about it, is just like this feedback of awesome feelings between everyone.
Do you still get nervous before a show or up there playing?
Yeah. Some shows, like we opened for Reverend Horton Heat earlier this year. I'm a big Reverend Horton Heat fan.
Yeah, I remember that show, yeah.
So that I was pretty nervous.
Is it more because of the band you're opening up for than necessarily
usually,
the audience?
Occasionally I'll just get nervous for a random show. If it's a big event, sometimes it's a little weird. I actually don't get nervous if I'm playing to a crowd that's never heard us before, because I have a lot of confidence in that situation. They don't know what to expect. They see a mandolin, they see an accordion, they assume we're a folk band. So that's easy.
What do you have any like favorite local bands that you like to play with, or I mean, I guess that's a tough question, just because you don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah, and that list is impressive. I mean, the music scene here and in Utah County.
Let's rephrase that. I mean, what do you think of the music scene just in general?
It's great, and it's getting better. That's the nice thing is with Shred Shed opening up, it has really we've kind of seen a resurgence in just like the downtown music scene.
But why do you think, well, speaking of Shred Shed opening up and you saw that resurgent, why do you think that happened versus, I mean, there was Kilby Court already. Yeah.
And Kilby's great.
Yeah. It was just because it's more that downtown atmosphere, kind of something new.
Kilby, over the years has sort of become a cool kid kind of a place.
Okay. Okay.
You're unlikely to see a punk show at Kilby.
Okay.
You know? Whereas a place like Shred Shed, they're willing to have any type of music there. And what's cool about it is people will go no matter what kind of music it is. Because of how Kilby Court has been over the years, I feel like some people just look at Kilby Court and assume like, oh, well, I'm not going to go there because it's Kilby Court.
And I'm not even a hipster.
Right. Which is totally not what Kilby Court is.
Kilby Court's great. I mean, I grew up going to Kilby Court shows, many of Friday nights there just to go to hang out with my friends.
I was at a show there, last week. Yeah. So it's like, it's great, but I feel like there needed to be something else. There had been a number of other places, all of which had shut down. And so Kilby was kind of the only game for about a year in the all ages area. And Shred Shed came around and just gave everyone another avenue to be able to do that. Kilby tends to a lot of times have bands that are more established as well. Whereas Shred Shed is willing to take in a band that's never played a show in the Valley and give them a good spot and give them a good time. So,
which I think is important for a musician to get that confidence.
Tremendously.
What recommendations, would you give? I mean, obviously you deal probably in the shop here with a lot of new musicians even.
Oh yeah.
Is there any recommendations you would give to somebody who wants to start playing music, maybe start a band, get out there a little bit? I mean,
no fear.
Fear.
Like you just can't worry about how it's going to work. I did that for years. And that was the problem is, I would do something, I'd write some music and I'd like it, but I just wasn't sure about how it would go down in front of a crowd. So I never played it in front of a crowd. And now all that music's lost because I'm not going to play it now.
But if you would have played it, who knows what the response.
Well, I would have had a lot more experience just from doing that.
The feedback even.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to mention, you could probably even, I don't know what maybe you already have it, but if someone's looking to start a band, you could probably even use your bulletin board down here,
Yeah, I tell that to people all the time. If they're looking for someone, just come and post it on the wall
like
here.
If they're looking for a new guitarist or a drummer.
And I frequently connect people that way. If someone comes in and they're, looking for someone who plays this type of music or does this type of.
So kind of like a dating site, but for musicians.
Absolutely. And that's what I want to be here is like, I want people to be able to come here and say, even if they're getting their guitars repaired somewhere else, just be able to come in and say, hey, I'm looking for someone that plays this style of music on this instrument. All right, I'll keep my ears open if I find someone. And a lot of times I do, I connected a drummer, that auditioned for Folk Hogan with a guy that, has guitars worked on occasionally up in Park City. And those guys would never have found each other.
So if I told you, hey, I play the banjo and I want to play in a bluegrass band, could you find somebody to
Easy.
play? Really? Okay.
Oh, tons of bluegrass guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I just thought of something off the top of my head to throw out there to kind of test you.
That's the thing is that the music culture around here is so rich. There's so many different styles. A lot of people look at the downtown music scene and they're like, well, there's hipsters and there's like the metal kids. But there is just everything. You name it, you can find it down here. That's what's cool about Salt Lake is that at any given night, you can go to every club in town and you'll be getting something different.
Oh, there's always music out there.
And they're all high caliber too.
Even while we're recording this, the Utah Arts Fest is going on and local bands are playing down there.
Oh yeah, killing it.
Do you have any favorite places like that you like to go get a beer at and listen to music, or is that kind of another tough question to?
No, there's definitely some places I like to go more than others, but that's mostly dependent on their selection of beer.
Yeah.
I'm kind of picky.
What's your favorite beer? Let's find out a little bit about Moses.
You know what? I try to only drink. I really only drink darker beers. Occasionally I'll have like a pale ale, but I'm a porter guy.
Okay.
And I'm a huge fan of Uinta's beers.
Delicious beers.
Epic has some amazing beers. There's a lot. Shades of Pale up in Park City is excellent.
So you try to stay local when possible.
Yeah, I try not to buy any like big corporate beer just because, anytime you're purchasing anything that is sold locally that is a local company, the percentage of money that gets turned around and put back into the local economy is, up in 70-80%. If it's a nationwide chain, that same amount of money that goes in ends up being about 14% that goes back to the local economy. So whenever you're shopping somewhere that's corporate or as a chain, you are going to have a tendency for that money to go elsewhere. Whereas anytime you're putting money into anything local, it's just going to make your neighborhood better.
I should cut that out and use that for. I love it. I mean that was like I couldn't have said it better myself as far as buying local and how important it is.
That's one thing I've really experienced being, I as a third-party technician inside Guitar Center, I watched how they did business, and that was hard. It was hard to see the things that they did to musicians.
Yeah.
And, they will always have a place, Walmart will always have a place.
But don't you itch when you go in there? You're just like,
I don't go in there.
Well, I mean, I haven't. Yeah. I haven't been in. I'm trying to even remember the reason the last time I ever did go in there.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just like, what the heck happened to America? You're just like, this is where we're shopping now.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that downtown here that we've got House of Guitars on 3rd West is an amazing shop, and Acoustic Music on 4th South and about 9th East, best acoustic shop in Salt Lake City. Riffs Acoustic Music up in Park City. I do repair up there. I love that place. It is the most comfortable music shop I've ever been in. Like, you go in and they make everyone comfortable, and you can sit down and they'll bring you a cup of coffee and they'll let you play whatever you want. And really that, you're in these big concrete floors, flat walls that just every time you're playing a guitar, every other guitar in the room resonates. And so you just have this amazing environment to be in while you're shopping for a guitar as well.
Do you have any favorite like local eating spots or eateries or
Frisch? Yeah. Oh,
delicious food. Delicious food right down the road here from you, really.
Frisch is fantastic. I recently had the new quinoa burger over at Poplar Pub.
I haven't tried that yet. What about Bud's right here? I heard that place is pretty good.
I haven't been there, but it's run by some of the people that did Union Street Eats.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I remember. They used to be down there by the library.
Yeah. And so I feel like it will be delicious. Absolutely.
My toughest thing, and I know I've said this before, is their hours. It makes it kind of tough for me to get in there because I think they're only open till like 3 o'clock or something.
Yeah, there a lot of sandwich places are that way. Yeah. They have limited time, and
you got to respect it. But, and I always ask that, because I do get the occasional person from out of state listening, and where would Moses recommend to get a bite? And you mentioned, Frisch.
It depends on what you want. I was a cook for several years. And so.
Where did you cook at?
I worked at a Italian restaurant up in Midway for several years. And then I worked at Gateway Grill out in Camas for a long time. And then here in Salt Lake, I worked at Big City Soup, which was like an amazing experience.
Yeah.
I worked a few other places.
So did you grow up in Midway? You mentioned your dad lives out there. Yep. So that's where you grew up then?
Yeah. I grew up in the tiny town of Midway and running around in the mountains all the time.
Yeah. And then you made your way to Salt Lake. And I mean, what do you overall, what do you like about Salt Lake City? Just overall, I mean, you mentioned a lot about the music scene and stuff like that, but
it's really easy to navigate. A lot of people get confused by the whole grid system.
But it's the easiest thing to figure out once you figure it out.
Yeah, they're just overthinking it. I really it's a pretty clean city, and everything's pretty well close together. I mean, there's little pockets that are here and there. You've got Sugar House, you've got like 9th and 9th area.
But they're also close, and you can get there not a lot of traffic.
Right, yeah. The only complaint I have about Salt Lake City is that public transportation's a little weird. It's getting considerably better.
And what do you mean by weird?
Not accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what it's kind of crazy because it is, I mean, with the tracks and with the buses and all of it, if they made it more accessible, I mean, it'd be a beautiful thing.
Well, there was a report recently that came out that said that we have the highest rates for public transportation in the nation.
What is it? I haven't even taken a bus lately.
Trax is like $250.
Is it that much
That's
now?
what it is for a bus too.
Wow. I used to take, because I was living down in Utah County, and I would take the bus up here, so I take the bus from Utah County up to the sandy tracks, and then hop on the tracks. And
now they've got Front Runner,
which I still haven't done the Front Runner to Utah County yet.
It's I think it's about $6 one way. So
it's not bad.
Yeah.
I guess you can read a book.
I get better gas mileage in my car. I don't know.
Anything else you're excited about this summer coming up? I mean, you're going to be playing a lot of Folk Hogan shows. Any upcoming Folk Hogan shows? I mean, this will be up on Sunday. Okay. So if there's any shows,
big thing that no one's going to want to miss is Crab Fest, which is a festival that a bunch of us have birthdays in like the Cancer area, So we decided to just have one big birthday party.
Okay.
And we call it Crab Fest. This year it's 3 days long. It happens at the Woodshed on 8th South, and they're between State and Maine. Thursday is the opening night there, and they typically do a reggae night on Thursdays, so they will do that evening. Friday, there's a number of bands that are going to be playing there, as well as there's a beer ball tournament that's going to be happening next door. And last year, it was about the most amazing thing ever. Jared and I actually won the beer ball competition last year, so proud of that. We're defending champions. But
and what are the dates of that one again? I don't know if
it's July 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Okay.
Folk Hogan will be playing on the 20th with many other amazing bands. So
okay.
People can check it out on the website. All the info's up on the website.
Yeah, and I'll put all the links on the I always mention, on the show notes for McKinley Sound. Yeah. Are you on Twitter at all? You don't have a McKinley Sound Twitter yet, do you?
No.
I know Folk Hogan does.
Yeah, and
which I'll get all those links on there too, just to share the love and to connect with you and the rest of the band.
And the Facebook page has a lot of. I'll frequently put pictures up of repairs I'm doing, or if I'm building a custom guitar for someone, I'll usually put pictures up of that process. So, I mean, I usually have a lot of stuff up on
How often do you make a custom guitar? And I mean, what is a process
a couple times a year
for that? I mean, is that intense or what?
Yeah, it depends on whether it's an electric or an acoustic. Electrics are considerably easier to make.
Yeah.
They take a lot less time, and they're a lot less difficult. They're a lot less expensive as well. The custom acoustic is...
why would somebody make a custom one versus just buying one? I mean, what is a...
Yeah. If you look at a super mass-produced guitar, like for a Fender Squier, for example, it's a cheap, super mass-produced, made-in-China guitar, and you just compare that with their American-made guitar. The only difference there is that all of the quality of the parts are better, as well as there's just more attention that gets paid to that instrument. That same difference between those two instruments is what you get out of a regular American-made guitar, and you compare that to a handmade guitar.
Mm-hmm.
That the quality gap there is enormous, especially when it comes to people that build by hand like myself. You are every tiny little piece and pass with sandpaper or a chisel is, so closely viewed. Every little thing that is done with care. The wood selection itself takes a long time just to find exactly what you want. And then, by the time you get the instrument in your hands, it'll be better than anything else you play.
Yeah.
And I will put my guitars up against just about anyone's guitars. I will gladly put them up against Martins and Taylors and Fenders and Gibsons any day of the week. Yeah. That's not hard. There are other acoustic manufacturers like Santa Cruz or Huss and Dalton that, those companies, they build their guitars by hand. And so when you're comparing with those, it's a little bit more difficult because it's, when you're dealing with a handmade guitar, you're always going to get more quality. You're always going to get a more beautiful sound, something that plays more comfortably, something that's more visually
built
appealing.
For that person, really.
Yeah, exactly. And when I build a custom for someone, I sit down with them, I discuss what kind of wood they want, what sound they're looking for, what kind of pickups they're looking for, even scale length. If you want a baritone, if you want a short scale, if you want a bass, I can accommodate anything really. It's an amazing thing to be able to sit down and make someone's dream a reality. That's kind of what repair is anyways. You know, if someone brings me a guitar, they want some modifications, I can direct them. When it comes to building a guitar for them, I can actually show them how it's done.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful.
And I'm sure there's a sense of a satisfaction when you see a customer leave with a big smile on their face.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, wow, I just made their day.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that, you know, that feels good when it's a repair, but when it's something that I've created from scratch, it's an even better feeling. Yeah. Knowing that I created something that someone else is going to go and create their own music on. That's an amazing feeling.
Have you ever watched like a musician then play, I mean, like say maybe a live show with a guitar you made and, and you're just like, wow, I made that.
Last week, I about a few days before the Jason Anderson concert, he had asked me to build him a guitar once. And just a few days before that, I thought I should build him a guitar. So I slapped together a Telecaster really quick and took the artwork from his one of his vinyl releases, this poster, and glued it to the top of the body and cut it out and then finished over top of it. So the top of the guitar is actually his artwork. And so that was, I surprised him. He didn't know he was getting it either. So I just showed up and was like, here, play your show with this. And he played the whole show with it and was in love with it.
That's awesome.
That was especially great for me because, you know, that's someone that has changed my life with their music. And now hopefully I can help them, you know, help them achieve whatever they want.
Again, the address here is 366 South, 500 East.
Suite 103.
Suite 103. I'll put all the links for Facebook. Anything else you want to add? I want to close out the episode with a Folk Hogan song. It just seems appropriate. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, though, before we play a song, or anything that we maybe didn't mention about the shop? Or definitely come on down, check it out. I mean, it's a really cool space. I mean, today is the first chance I've had the opportunity to come down, and it's just you got a cool thing going. I mean, and then you're in between, you know, you got Sorry Clementine and Velo City Bags. Just
amazing neighbors.
Right sandwiched in between here in the Array building.
Very lucky.
Yeah, you lucked out. You guys got a good thing going. Yeah. You know, I was just telling in a couple episodes ago telling Nate that, you know, you guys are lucky. I mean, even the parking isn't bad here.
Yeah. The only time it's difficult around here is like 5:30. Everyone's leaving work, and that's the only time.
It's crazy to get out of there and sometimes get in here.
And that's about the only time that it's hard. I live 8 blocks from here, so if anyone ever does need anything late, I can ride my bike over and meet people. I do take emergency calls. I do take a doctor's bag to a show if people need it.
You have a little doctor's bag, huh?
And I've done teching for bands at shows. I've, you know, many times gone to someone's house and fixed their guitar for them while they were at practice, or 10 minutes before they had to be at a show. Or I've met people at their show and fixed something for them. Or there's been many times where someone has called me and said, I have this problem. And I've said, well, it's going to take overnight. I'll bring a guitar for you.
And then kind of have a loaner.
Yeah, just here, play this for tonight. Here's a guitar I built. See if you like it. So, and then, you know.
And it's about building those relationships, you know.
Well, that's why I'm in this business. Is I want to relate with other musicians, and that's, you know, I'm in an amazing area with amazing musicians all around me, and I want to be as much a part of all these musicians' lives as their music is a part of mine and everyone else's. So,
where do you think you would be if music would have never been introduced to you?
Oh man,
that's a tough question. Yeah. I mean, maybe not even answer. Just think about it. I guess, you know.
Yeah,
you know,
sad place.
It is. I mean, music. I mean, well, what bands? I mean, I know we mentioned we're going to wrap it up, but what any bands you want to recommend besides Salt Lake bands? Just normal, everyday.
Wow.
You mentioned, you know, I didn't know what you're listening to these days, or
it changes a lot. I'm a big Jason Anderson fan. Always have been. He's amazing. I enjoy punk. I've been listening to Weed Eater a lot recently, which is, they're like a stoner metal band. Yeah.
Just a lot of. You're probably like me, where it's like depends on the day, depends on the mood.
Yeah.
Well, what Folk Hogan song do you want to end the show with? I'll let you pick it.
Yeah, we'll end it with Band of Mighty Souls. That's an easy one.
That's a great song. It just feels appropriate.
Yeah.
Plus I love to play a Folk Hogan song whenever I can. So
yeah, thank you.
You guys, great band. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Foundries of hell, like comets from heaven to this earth we fell. We played our first song, the whole world sang along. They were under our control. And one by one we came to the band, like soldiers to death, like waves onto land. And with our first score, the bellows did roar. For the first time we felt whole. It was right, it was right, it was right, it was right all night. In our band of mighty souls,